the joint committee meeting, the Finance Committee, as well as the Ways and Means Committee meeting for today, which is Tuesday, September the 28th. Today, we have a couple of ordinances on the agenda, but just a few before we start. I do want to let you all know this is different for us. So I am Councilwoman Ty Atkins, the chair of the Ways and Means Committee, and also Chairwoman, Councilwoman Mary Brown of the 3rd District will also be chairing the Finance Committee as we do this jointly. The following CPOs are on the agenda. CPO 2021-72, which is an ordinance for the City of Gary, Lake County, Indiana, approving the American Rescue Plan Act spending plan. This is sponsored by our Mayor Jerome Prince, as well as our City Controller, Malik Harper. We also have CPO 2021-71, which is the ordinance appropriating monies for the purpose of defraying the expenses of the special redevelopment general tax-based fund for the City of Gary, Indiana, for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2022, and ending December 31st, 2022, including all outstanding claims and obligations, and fixing the time when the same shall take effect. This, of course, is also sponsored by our Mayor Jerome Prince, as well as our City Controller, Malik Harper. In addition to those two, we have the following two: CPO 2021-73, which is the ordinance approving the salaries for employees of the City of Gary General Parks, COED, MVH, pension, and fire tax-based funds for the calendar year 2022. CPO 2021-74, which is the ordinance appropriating monies for the purpose of defraying the expenses of the General Parks, COIT, seated, CII, CCD, MVH, fire pension, and police pension, tax-based funds for the City of Gary, Indiana, for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2022, and ending December 31st, 2022. So that one, it doesn't say in the title of the ordinance, but that is the operating budget for the City of Gary for calendar year 2022. So we might want to update the title of that to include just operating. Both of those ordinances, of course, are sponsored by our Mayor Jerome A. Prince, as well as our City Controller, Malik Harper. In addition to the chair of the Finance Committee, Councilwoman Mary Brown, we have the following council members joining us tonight. Council member from the 2nd District, Cozy Weatherspoon, our council president, as well as representative 1st District, William Godwin, our council representative 5th District, Councilwoman Linda Barnes Caldwell. I don't think our 6th District representative is on yet. We have the following at-large members here: Councilman Ron Brewer, Councilman Mike Brown, as well as Councilman Clorius Lay. In addition to the council members joining us, we have our Attorney Renzer Williams, as well as our City Controller. So housekeeping. Tonight, we have a schedule that we will be following. CPO 2021-72, which is the ARPA plan, will be reviewed tomorrow at our September the 29th session, which will start at 5 p.m. And also CPO 2021-71, which is the special redevelopment budget, which was introduced to the council a couple of weeks ago in the public meeting, but that also will be reviewed tomorrow. We have a section on our schedule for tomorrow for redevelopment and planning, and so we will also include 2021-71 at that time. At this time, I will briefly go over the schedule for the public so they can know the order that we will be reviewing. We have asked all executive directors who are over these particular departments to join us in the council chambers to give us a summary in terms of what changes they are proposing for their 2022 budget. We will first review the salary budget, which is CPO 2021-73. Those questions and that session and in the beginning of the portion will be led by Councilwoman Brown. Or if you want to address colleagues, if you want to address the executive director upon completion of their review, please make sure that you address the chair, Councilwoman Brown, to be acknowledged. Then if there's anything related to the operating portion, which is the 74 ordinance, that is technically in the Ways and Means Committee. And so you would address Councilwoman Atkins to be recognized to have the floor to speak. Again, each department will do salary first and then operating within the same session, and then we'll move on to the next department. This is the order. For today's session, we will have Public Works, Facilities Maintenance, Vehicle Maintenance, General Service, including local roads and streets, MVH, Traffic, MVH Utilities, et cetera. Then we will have Human Resources, then the Commission for Women, Health Department, Information Technology, CCI, CCD seated, the Police Commission, Police Pension, the Gary Police Department overall, as well as the civilian, which we call supportive services. And then lastly, the Police County Public Safety Income Tax Budget will be reviewed last tonight. Any questions on that, council members? We're good? Okay. So first, let's go ahead and start. If we have the representative from Public Works, who I believe is our Executive Director, Ms. D. Barbara? Chia? Okay. You can approach the podium, Ms. D. And then we could just go, in Public Works first. And you can't hear me? That's right. So Public Works, do you have the schedule? Okay, so we'll just go in that order, but just, as soon as you finish, if there's no questions from council members, then go to your next department. Councilman Brewer. So they can hear us.
Is we ready? Okay, good evening, council.
Hi.
Hi. So first of all, I'll bring the budget for 10190, which is the Public Works budget. And that budget here, we seek to bring back, if you look down, you'll see where we took, and we're going to eliminate the foreman and bring back the superintendent for general services. If you look further down, we want to reinstate the building superintendent. We had a building superintendent in 2019 was the last year, and then they wrote that out. But we really need that back for the supervision of some of our union workers. Traffic, we need to bring back a traffic foreman. And these are the same things that I asked for basically last year that were written out basically in 2019, and we found them to be important and essential. The account technicians, those two positions are actually positions that are coming out of finance. So they're transferring over to Public Works. Those positions were created in finance when they eliminated in 2019 people that did the payables for Public Works, parks, vehicle maintenance. So we're just somewhat of a trade-off that the controller is allowing them to come back into Public Works at this point. The administrative assistant for Public Works, we want to eliminate that spot and just rename it. There's a person in it. We want to rename that the executive assistant and add a few more duties to that spot. For the executive assistant, that is something somewhat different because she'll be doing like the inventory, which has caused a gap within Public Works, that whole division actually. So we want to kind of keep track of all of our resources. And right now we're not able to do that well. We keep an eye on things, but we could really use that position in place. Then we want to change over, or add in the projects manager. So that is something with the council that I talked about a few times individually as well as on council meetings from last year. That is that person we need on the ground, that when we're paving and we're doing some different things out there, that somebody's accountable and making American Water accountable. They're making them $7,000 or $8,000 because they didn't have a maintenance person or a crafts person that could actually do it. They had an issue not too long ago, and we sent one of our crafts person over, which cost us $200 in parts to take care of the issue.
So currently there is someone there.
There's someone in Public Works, but we need an additional person to help us service parks because they don't have anybody there. They have no maintenance on that side. Okay, and the only other thing we did was there was one part-time seasonal. We eliminated that position. We basically have not used all of those. So we felt we could kind of give the one up in order to help make up for the superintendent for general services we needed to bring back in salary. Okay, any questions on the salary?
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question for Ms. Barber. Ms. Barber, the superintendent position that you're going to be adding to general services, presently you have two foremen,
I'm
only
getting
one
an
foreman.
echo, so I'm not hearing. Okay, so on here, it's only one foreman. The unique thing, I guess, with general services, you will see that other foreman come into play, but it's on the, another budget. On this budget, it's only one foreman. If you look at the Public Works 90 budget, what happens here is like, this budget here supports a lot of the admin or people that oversee, managers, deputies that oversee, because when you get to the other budgets, you'll see with local roads and streets, traffic and all of that, none of those people are there. They don't have the support. So this is basically a support budget. Okay, and it had one foreman on it.
What would be the role of the superintendent compared to the point?
Well, that superintendent basically, the one I am going to require the superintendent would have a CDL. They basically oversee the general services building. Okay, there'll be some roles, and there are just some things that we're not getting addressed because that foreman is like literally on the ground with his team. The superintendent will be too, but then there'll be days that they have to do the reports. They have to be accountable for certain things that go on. So there is a difference between that role of superintendent and the role of foreman.
Actively right now with the traffic.
Mr.
You'll have the same three individuals over there that are not being supervised. That's really.
Well,
Madam Chair, Councilman Witherspoon, we need to still unmute ourselves when we're speaking because the people in Zoom can't hear.
Okay, I'll repeat the question. The traffic department, presently as it stands, you have 3 or 4 individuals there without supervision, am I correct?
there are 3 people on the traffic budget. I provide the supervision, and I have another
Okay.
person in my office that currently worked as the traffic foreman prior.
Right,
Even though that's not what her title is and what she does multiple things because we're
Right.
just trying to make it work at the end of the day. And you have to have that supervision. And I mean, you had traffic out there, they're union. Union can't supervise union. So
right,
that's the
right.
reason. Yes, so that's why we're asking for the traffic foreman to be reinstated. We get it done, but it's tough.
Yeah, yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
thank you. And thank you so much, Ms. Barber, for all that you do. Let me just ask, one of the things that I know I'm interested in is making sure that our employees are getting a living wage. And so when we look at these salaries, some of which are lower than what part-time councilpersons make, which I think is not acceptable. Not blaming you, but that's just where we are right now. I just don't think that's right. What's the average number of hours that they work over the course of a year?
For which one?
So the custodian 1 position, and the
The ones that are
custodian
part-time,
2.
you mean the full-time
Full-time,
custodian? The
right.
full-time works their 40-hour week.
So
I
that's-
do realize that salary is low. As long as I've been here, it probably has been low, but we'll take more. Want to give it?
Well, I think it was 2,080 hours a year roughly.
Yes.
Not including
Yes,
time off and the rest, which I think that equals about $12.17 an hour. Right,
absolutely.
so I'm just wondering, when you lose and we kind of had a conversation yesterday in executive session related to other areas within local government, when you lose people in these positions, what is it like recruiting at this pay rate, right? I mean, at $12.17 an hour, what are you really, how difficult is that to replace these positions?
I'll be honest with you, it is hard to recruit, especially at those wages. And I would agree if we can get more for those positions that we would get it. But like I said, I didn't really set those. And they have my custodial ones do everything, sometimes from maintenance to floors. I mean, they earn every dime that they get and they need more.
How do we compare to other similarly sized second-class cities in the area in terms of pay for these types of roles?
Ours are lower.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
That on the ground person that will be out there for those projects to
Got it.
supervise.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anybody else have any more questions? Outdoor maintenance, yes.
Madam Chair, just one question. So, Ms. Barber, I didn't see for.
The director's salary here, which is be your salary, only other compensation that you do receive is just from the sanitary district portion. Is that correct?
That and now from a stipend from parks.
There's a stipend from parks.
Mhm. I don't take the whole salary from parks. It was what the last person got as interim. So there's a stipend from parks.
We had that problem last time with the last person in that position. When was the administration gonna bring it to the council for that to be approved?
So, and it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, okay, that if the position exists, and it's like nobody was in the position and you were paying out of it, I am not sure that had to come before the council. What happens is, say for instance, a position doesn't exist or somebody is in it and you're trying to get two people to work side by side, then that is something special that needs to go before council. Now, if it works another way, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, I don't think we came to any conclusion of it, you know, with the last person that was in there. I think that's probably a conversation for us to handle with our finance representative too, to see what answer he would give us. But thank you.
Well,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair,
Yes.
I think along those lines, let me be clear, it's certainly not personal to you, Ms. Barber. I know that we are very thankful that you are double, triple duty for us. But we know we had that issue last year, and it is two distinct positions, right, that are in the budget under personnel. And I think it was our understanding that you can't have two different positions or be paid from different. We've had that issue historically without council approval. But Mr. Outlar, our finance manager, he's on as William. I'm trying to convince him to change that so there won't be any confusion. Do you have any insight on that? Mr. Okay.
President Godwin, please, can you restate the question? I couldn't actually hear it. I don't know what's going on with my headphones.
Okay, so basically last year we had an employee who was operating as parks superintendent and also I believe he was executive director of community investment. There was a question about whether one could hold two lucrative titled budgeted positions at the same time that are full-time roles without council approval for any kind of stipend or payment out of that additional or second or third line item. And so Councilman Brewer raised the question, and I am also asking it for clarification this year as relates to Ms. Barber.
And you know what? You can't, well, they can't do it without the council's approval. The council has to approve that budget to have one person to be paid from two separate line items in the budget.
And that approval should be retroactive or should be before the payments actually occur?
It should be before the payments actually occur.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anybody else? Any more questions?
I have one, Madam Chairperson. It's my understanding what Mr. Godwin just asked is more of a legal question. I thought there was an ordinance or a statute that deals with, which again, it comes to the council, but I believe it's a specific statute, at least I've heard of it, I think, for like 6 months or something like that. It's not as much a finance question as a legal question, which may be both. But we also could ratify anything that has been done too. I guess that's what you mean by retroactive. if we so chose to do so in relationship to Ms. Barber. But again, I'm not clear, but I think there's a statute that deals specifically with that. That ordinance, something that's been paid, that has occurred in the past, that says the council through this ordinance has approved it, but only for a limited amount of time.
Right.
Mr.
Madam Chair, I think it is. It's, oh, Attorney Williams is probably going to speak to it.
No, you're right.
No, I'm sorry. It absolutely is an ordinance, and it's one in the 8 years that I've been involved. I'll admit I knew nothing about. It was actually Councilwoman Ty Atkins who first brought it to my attention. But yes, it absolutely is an ordinance that requires the consent of the council to be paid from line items, 2 different line items. And to the best of my knowledge, several administrations have violated that rule.
And if for the record, it's, I think it's ordinance 6315, Councilman Lay.
Oh, okay, I just heard it existed. I'm not even sure I've ever read it.
It's 6315, and I have a copy, colleagues. I could forward it to the body.
And the fact that Attorney Lay has never read it, I don't feel as bad now.
But I knew it existed. I counted on you.
Yeah. It's true.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think to Attorney Williams' point, there was an issue with an individual who worked at the fire department. And I think that was during the second term of Mayor Freeman Wilson, and I believe that was stopped based on that ordinance. So I think the council has acted on it before. I'm not going to say the gentleman's name if it's necessary.
No, well, that's absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. And yes, I'll just stop. That's correct.
All right, thank you. I just didn't want people to think they were all of a sudden taking our ordinances seriously.
It's happened in the past from being in HR. So I'm just saying that you can call one person's name, but that case involved more than one person, and both of them were not stopped. So I have no problem. I have no problem with giving up parks. I really don't. If that's, if you.
Well, Ms. Barber, it's definitely not towards you at all. This was brought to the administration, the head of the administration, that we had a problem with this individual that was in the spot here. And for them to continue it and still just not make it right, we're asking that they just make it right and bring it before the city council. No one on the council has said that they wouldn't do it, but it has not even been brought to the council. So I'm asking for it to be brought to the council for consideration. I mean, it's just a matter of respect that the council's not getting, and it's not you at all. You're like the person in the middle, but you're doing the work and not being properly compensated. But you are being compensated, but the administration did not bring it before the council for the proper approval. Yeah.
And Madam Chair, may I say, Ms. Barber, you're doing an excellent job.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Right. We do.
I know you do. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else or any other questions or comments on this 2173?
I just want, Madam Chair,
Yes.
on this, just lastly, on this custodian piece, I would ask the administration and Mr. Harper, the controller, to look at these numbers and see where we're off track in terms of paying people a living wage and where we are in relation to neighboring cities. And if we can get closer to at least $15 an hour based on a 2,080 hour year, we should make every effort to do that. Because again, I just don't think it's acceptable for full-time people to be making less than part-time elected officials.
We would appreciate it.
Thank you. So just let's at least look at it
Mhm.
and see what that would entail.
Madam Chairwoman,
Yes.
I'm not sure I fully, Mr. Garland, you were comparing those individuals to elected officials?
I'm saying myself, I don't think I should be making more than someone who's working full-time. And certainly someone, that's just my personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of the council. That's what I think.
Well, but I think that may be a misinterpretation of our role. Our role is in fact to be representative. So our responsibility far exceeds any employee in the city of Gary, up to and possibly including even the mayor itself. So let's assume we said we're equal at this point.
Well,
So
if that's
no,
the case, we need a really big raise.
that's
Because he makes a lot more than
if
we do.
Yeah, if you exercise your representation, I think we seem to function as if we're town government. In other words, we're afraid to make the difficult decision. But no, I certainly, it is far beneath what I get paid an hour. I mean, no longer do I get paid that an hour. But the responsibility here far exceeds any other person, in my opinion. I think my responsibility far exceeds any individual. And so I've never looked at the salary to compare back to someone in the administration, because I think my salary and my responsibility exceeds the deputy mayor. So no, I think it's unfair to look at someone else said, because I think the council makes a little under 29,000. That's too much. And I don't have a problem with people cutting the salary, but at least let them cut it for the right reason. But I would prefer, as opposed to taking our salary, that we pay whatever that $15 an hour. You didn't say what it computed out to be a year. How much is that, Mr. Garber?
Got my handy dandy calculator here. It's 2080 times 15 is 31,200, which pairs with the median income for the city. And let me be clear, I wasn't suggesting that we reduce the salaries of elected officials. I was simply saying that you got folks who are working full time. Most of us, if we're not retired, have full-time jobs. And so I just think it sends a statement for us to be on track with industry standards in terms of pay. We know McDonald's are making $15 an hour, right? So we have to be competitive and properly pay our employees. That's the only point I was making, not that the elected officials should be reduced or what we do is not important. But, I think full-time employees at these pay rates, we should be paying a living wage. That's all I was suggesting.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. I don't know if 31,000 is really a living wage. You may call it that. What I was talking about was the comparison. Let's compare them to other people outside. So I have no problem with 31, 32,000, whatever the figure is. I was objecting softly to the comparison.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I just want to add that we will then look into that. I'll discuss with the deputy mayor and the mayor and find out what direction we need to go there.
Okay. Yeah, I agree that it's underpaid.
Okay, Madam Chair, can we move to the operating portion? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, as it relates to the operational budget, basically there are a few changes. We moved some money around where we had the professional services at 150,000. That's now 140,500. I did add travel and education, because if you're not educating people and trying to train them, which you saw that there was nothing prior, that just doesn't work, because then we don't keep up our workforce. The other change is that we added current charges. A lot of times we pay, we may pay for a new subscription out of there, or sometimes we move that money around. There's something that we have to reimburse, and we just take them from the current charges. Okay, but overall, that budget is, again, slightly lower. Questions on operational?
I'm going to lead the operation portion. Can you hear me, Ms. Barbara? You can't hear
It's
me?
because of the echo, but
Okay. So I had a question for your professional services. Do you know your year end from 2020 that this department came out towards? You couldn't hear me?
I couldn't hear you.
All right, hold on. It's horrible setup, horrible. All right, let's.
Okay.
My question is about the
Professional services, okay? Yes.
And so I know that there's petitions that come through for like speed bumps, there's requests and stuff like I think you have to do that. But there's a requirement for the city engineer to do the assessment for that we're subcontracting. So the decrease in that, I just wanted to know, last year, where was your end numbers in terms of your expenditures for that line item?
Okay, so let's go back to 2020. Okay.
So the question I just asked Ms. Barber was for us to look at professional services. So that's one of the line categories where we do a lot of subcontracting out. One of the main things is for the city engineer. So for the public, when you ask for speed bumps, when you ask for new stoplights, I don't think it's stop signs, possibly. One thing we do as a council person, we could submit a request via petition or a letter to the Board of Public Works. And their process is after they consider the request formally, they will then get the city engineer, which is subcontracted through that line item professional services to do, I don't know, like a traffic study to see if it's, necessary, et cetera. But we got to pay for that. That's why it's a process. So my question to Ms. Barber is, does it make sense for us to decrease that? Because we know we have a lot in the pipeline that is waiting to be assessed. And there's other projects that the city has that could be coming up with the infrastructure that possibly coming that you might need your city engineer to help with. Does it make sense to decrease that line item? So that was my question.
Well, we hope so. Because I don't know where the echo is coming from.
That 150,000 prior to me coming on board back to Public Works, that money was set aside. The city engineer got the whole 150,000. Okay. I quickly realized that we need to do a few things different. This year I entered a contract with the city engineer and it was 90,000 because I do know I can always amend instead of, so that has worked perfectly so far. But if you're going to give us a whole lot of more money to do infrastructure, we would increase it. Yeah, but that's the only reason is because I knew it was 90 this year. If there are projects coming down, then we would probably have to come back but I don't know what those are, And as it relates to like the speed bumps and different things like that, they usually come out of the local roads and street budgets for money for just the money itself, for those projects. The engineer, he weighs in when we need him to weigh in on those, but it's not at the same rate that, it's not a really high rate.
Okay.
Madam Chairperson, could I ask a question about this engineer?
Yes, Councilman Lay.
How much does the city paying this engineer per hour? This Barbara?
I don't think she can hear your question. I'll repeat it for you,
I've not heard
Councilman
anything
Lay.
that anybody says on the Zoom.
So she can't hear anyone that's on the Zoom. I'll repeat it. So the question is, how much per hour is the city engineer paid?
It depends on what the service is. Sometimes it's $150, something. It depends. There's a price sheet within the contract of what I pay for.
Well, what's the maximum you pay this engineer? Well, that's okay if she can't hear me. That's okay.
What's the maximum that you have paid?
I don't know what the maximum is per hour. I'll give that to you if that's what you. That's what Councilman wants. I'll send it to you.
Well, that seems to be,
Because basically, I'm not billed like for 1 hour for something. It's usually, if a bill comes in, it may be $8,000 total. Not that it's not broken down, but I'd have to actually go in and look at that.
seemed to me, yeah, this is going to be difficult. Seemed to me, it must be broken down. You just can't receive a flat bill for $8,000. I mean, I've spent the last 40 years billing people. I guess the other question here, how much would the city engineer be paid if he was full time? That $150,000 prior year, I assume that was in 2020, I guess, maybe 21. Did you use the 150? You say you gave him the 150,000. That sounds like you gave it to him and then he gave you an accounting for it.
So Councilman's question is, if it was the city engineer in-house, how much would that city engineer pay? If it was gave 150,000 to the outsourced, does it make sense to have that in-house?
So we'd have to look at that. If you had it in-house, you got to remember too, we're going to pay the benefits that go along with that. So whereas maybe that city engineer, I'm not sure if you're going to get a city engineer for $100,000, okay, in-house. Then you have to remember you've got turf, you've got all of the different taxes, you've got the insurance payment. So, I mean, if you want to look at that, we can. But I know the city hasn't had a city engineer in-house. I know it wasn't a city engineer in-house when I came on 15 years ago. Okay, that person was contracted. So,
yeah, who is the city engineer under contract?
the city engineering services are provided by Robinson Engineering.
Yeah, I'd like to know how many hours they spent for that $150,000.
Okay.
And I am aware of Fred's benefits. I really am. I have an accounting background, so I'm familiar with that. That still seems to be very expensive.
It just seems to be expensive. His knowledge of like the total package, it seems to be a little bit high. So that's why.
The 150,000, but you have to realize it's 150,000 in professional services. I have not used 150,000. I only used 90,000 last year.
Oh, that's where I was confused. I thought you said he used the whole 150,000.
That's what he was confused. And I thought you did too. You said that you thought you said that the whole 150,000.
Yes.
No, this is what I said. I'm gonna go back. And what I said was when this, in 2019, let's use 19, 150,000 was put into a contract for Robinson Engineering in 2019. So I come on in 20, I look at those bills, I look at which departments were using services and said, okay, we need to divert services to where they go and those departments pay. I set up a contract this year for 90,000 based on what I thought we would pay out. I never used the entire 150,000.
Yeah, I guess the confusion is why you even mentioned it. That's why I thought it was two figures, 150 to 90. So she said it's a contract for 90,000. That sounds a little bit better than 150,000.
Okay, and that's the reason. So that's the reason why the decrease. It's still enough.
It's still more than enough, and I believe it's enough to add on additional projects if we have them. I just don't believe in if you have $150,000 contract and then you don't spend that 150,000. That money, I mean, it's not like it's going to roll over to the next year. So it's better to issue what you think you need, which is 90,000, and I can increase that by going to the board if necessary. Yeah.
I think I do have a question. So my question is related to the sidewalk program. So I know we had a 50-50 sidewalk program. So is there funding embedded into the operations budget for that, or does that come from a different grant?
I think that came from a different source is what I was told. Okay, that was from a different source, and then that, they ran out of that money, and it was no money appropriated for that, which is something that we actually need to appropriate money for, because we do maintain the list. I even maintained the list that was there when I came in 19. And we're just really hoping to find some funds or be given funds for that 50/50 sidewalk program.
So my question, I know I was on mute, was regarding the 50/50 sidewalk program. Is this the appropriate funding source to make sure that we were budgeting for monies to support that program? And so the response that Ms. Barber just gave us was related to that. So do we, I mean, could we do that in this budget or a mental budget? And the response was the administration, the members of the administration believe that we can do that under contractual maintenance. There's a line item up under this particular budget for the operating for contractual maintenance. Yep. So I would like to propose that the department will look at that. In fact, because I know we had a list from 2018. Is the list still? So we had a list from 2018?
Yes.
So we have a list of, sidewalks, residents who have requested support in that program that stems all the way from 2018. So we should look at that. I would ask if we could look at that to support that under that line item.
The only thing I would say that if it comes down to where, if it came down to where you, for some reason we wanted to use the ARP money, I would say then don't put it in my department to create it separately.
Can you try to turn up the laptop at the top? The volume. I got to pass on. I'm vaccinated though, y'all. They can't hear her, so we need more volume. You all are back there, so if somebody could come up here and help us get this together. She can't hear, they can't hear, we can't hear, can't see.
Okay, so not seeing, if you stand off.
I don't want to talk about it.
Unmute. So can you not hear me? No, the mic was muted. I can. I can hear clearly. Can you not hear?
I don't think you want to ask me that, especially with HR sitting there.
Oh, I mean, can you not hear them? Not, do you have an ability to
But that's
hear?
not what you just said.
Oh, okay, let me rephrase it.
I was not.
Mr. Lay, can you say something from home? We trying to see if we can hear you inside the chambers.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now a lot better.
Thank you, folks. Thank you.
Okay. And it's Councilman Lay, not Glorious.
He assumed I was at home. That was the worst offense. Or he told the public I was at home. All righty, no, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's fine.
Do you want me to go to the next budget under? Okay.
Yeah, we're good, Councilwoman. We can move on.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the next budget is the operations budget, which is 101, 100. That budget is the facility maintenance, so that's kind of where we pay, things where we were paying some of the different buildings, different little things that we get for the custodians, as what happens, on this budget here. This budget here did not, actually change.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So can you talk about the professional service that's being paid out of this one here?
One oh one, 100 doesn't have a salary budget. There's only an operational budget. Yes. Any questions on 100? No, it's,
I got the wrong glasses. I got the readers, but they're shades. They're killing me.
Councilman Brewer, you had a question about professional services? So it's the 274,000, which is the line item for professional services.
okay, that budget is higher. Like I said, that budget there controls, say for instance, if we've got to bring a AC person in, they would have a contract. Any maintenance that we're doing, this large ticket items, they would have a contract. And that's why they come out of professional services. Is if it's something that becomes like contractual, then we take and we'll move that. That's why you see the contractual line. So it can either be contractual or come from the professional service side. But those are basically your large ticket items, and they are governed by contract.
So inside the professional services, have we looked at, I guess none of CARES Act gets compared, none of that
No,
money.
this is just the regular budget. It has nothing to do with the ARP funds or anything. This is just the normal budget for 100.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll take it if you're gonna give me some.
Well, I'm hoping that we use some of that money for the HVAC system. For the HVAC system, because that's
So remember, council members, that 2021-72 is the ordinance for the portion of the ARPA plan that we are aware of. So we haven't even voted on that yet. You hear that? Okay. It's horrible.
Vehicle maintenance budget, and basically, other than the 3% you see of the increase here, we changed the lead mechanic just to a mechanic one like the rest. There was no lead mechanic. There was nothing any different between the mechanics. And that's the reason we have that one. Before they had a vehicle maintenance manager, what we did is call that person a coordinator, which gives the opportunity for like a union person to move into a higher spot at some point. You know, if that spot becomes open, we do have somebody that's in it. And what they do is just coordinate all the activities of the garage with the mechanics. Any questions on 430 salary budget?
Okay.
Okay. The operational side of 430, we didn't make a lot of changes there. The changes there happened. They're going to be like within the workers' comp, different things like that. The only change here that's kind of, well, what we did here in 430 is you've got the change in the little bit in the overtime pay. It's not a lot. It's like about $500 that we added to the overtime pay on that line item there. And that is basically, we did take the travel and education, we took that to 10,000 instead of the 10,700. The contractual maintenance agreements, they also have like the person that brings the oil or changes out the oil. So they have a few things that go on in the contractual maintenance part of that budget. And then we added the $400 down to subscription and dues. And basically that, in current charges, we increased that slightly also by the $500. But it's basically, we kind of move money around, and that budget there is a little lower than our budget was last year.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I have so many. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Brown. So the next budget is 231, which is general services. And I'm gonna do the operational because that budget also has no salary budget, okay? And 231, basically you'll see an increase, but that is the local roads and streets. So I don't set that. That is what the funds that come in for local roads and streets.
What is that?
231.
Okay.
231 local roads and streets.
Okay.
Okay. And like I said, there's no salary budget for local roads and streets. So unless there's some questions there, I'll go to the next one.
See this.
Ready to go to the next one, Councilwoman? Okay, so the next budget is 222, general services, 232, and that's motor vehicle highway. The first one is the salary budget. We did not make changes in the salary budget other than that 3% increase.
That's for a person.
The 3%, it was for each person overall.
Can you guys hear that? Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay. So then you have 230, you have the 222, 232 motor vehicle highway does have an operational side also. And that did increase slightly.
Motor vehicle highway.
All of those are tied together. When it comes to traffic, general services, they're basically motor vehicle highway.
But I just want to note that it only increased because of the salary portion that increased. Can't hear me. So that's for the council members. So for the operating budget for this particular department, which is 222, the fund is 232, which is MVH, motor vehicle highway. As Ms. Barber said, the bottom line number shows an increase, but that's only because of what she does describe in terms of the changes that happen on the salary side. So nothing related to everything else in the internal portion of the operating side was decreased for the most part. Except for travel and education, as you see, it just stayed the same.
Madam Chairperson.
Yeah.
Just these salaries, is anyone paid below, let's say, $31,000 full-time?
No, we have some that, but they're right at 31. They're right at 31,000.
Right,
So
that means they paid lower than 31, right?
Correct.
Okay. The next one for 223, 232 motor vehicle highway. And this one encompasses traffic. So what happens here is that we've added the traffic maintenance operators back on. They tried to move those, and they did successfully in 2019. At the end of the year for 2020, they moved them to outdoor maintenance. But there's a difference in what the traffic people would do versus my outdoor maintenance people that are with general services.
So can you give us a breakdown what the two do? So we can have
Okay, so you have general services, you know, we're out basically cleaning debris. We do the trees. Usually we're out, you know, when it's a snowstorm. Okay, we do a lot of the cleanup. It's the street, you know, streets. They're responsible for the patching. When it comes to traffic is like the knockdowns of stop signs or signs that have to be put back up. You want to make sure that those are put up and they're put up correctly. So you don't want a stop sign put back up and it's 2 inches off because we had somebody else put it up that didn't know the rule. The street lights, before we call in a person like Midwestern and spend that money, those are the people that are dispatched there. Okay. If it's the speeding signs, the no parking, handicap signs, that traffic department takes care of that, and there are 3 of them.
And I call them a lot.
You sure do. But we answer, so.
Yeah, you do.
We answer. Mhm. Yeah. But that's the difference of it. And they were traffic prior to that, and so I'm not sure what the thought was when they changed them to outdoor maintenance. It's just that when I came back last year, I found that wasn't workable because, you know, sometimes traffic will end up in court testifying to whether a stop sign, what was going on, or they work with legal. And that's a difference versus general services. Yes.
Madam Chair, I have a question. Who is responsible for the stoplight on 53rd and Broadway? It's a 4-way stop.
Vanessa had been in contact with them about that 4-way stop sign there.
What about 7th Broadway?
Broadway is still gonna be.
But have they been in contact?
Yes. Yes. I don't have as much control if it's something that, for instance, like it's 4th or 5th, we try to reach out and call, but I can't fix that as quick as I can when it's one of ours.
Because I know the 7th Broadway, I'm sorry to talk about, now this is week 4. For the 7th Broadway, I'm not sure about the 53rd.
Okay.
So could we just do?
We can check, because I do know that there's some talk about maybe removing one of those. I'm just not sure which one of those that they're talking about removing, that we didn't want to see removed, and I know they're in contact with the state about that.
So that question.
I will check for you.
Okay, the question was related to the 4-way stop signs that we have on our state road, which is Broadway. So there was one that Councilman Brown just inquired about, 54th and Broadway. And then there's also one on 7th and Broadway. So the response Ms. D just gave us that that's NDOT responsibility and that General Service will do a follow-up with them. Because I know the 7th and Broadway one has been out for at least 4 weeks. And we think that at least 3 weeks for the one that's on 53rd and Broadway. Okay.
And there's also one just south of Ridge Road and Broadway. I've never seen lights on the state road flash and be out as long as these have been out on Broadway. Yeah, I have never seen lights on state highway be out flash and on the flash.
It happened. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Those lights are flash on 30, and I was out there getting lights back on Broadway.
The relationship has gotten better with them, but it is still timely issue when they respond. But it has gotten better than it was. their response time. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
who is responsible, maybe this is not the time, who's responsible for the street signs in this town? What department?
we had a traffic department, but I don't know.
Street signs, street signs.
Yeah, like
Stop signs.
Adams Street, Washington.
If the street sign is missing, what we do is traffic are the people that will go out and reinstall the sign that's missing or knocked down.
Tell them to take a look at Gary. We missed a lot of street signs. A lot of them were missing.
Yes, Councilman.
See, everybody don't have a GPS system like Mr. Godwin and Mr. Brewer. So we need to sign, although I do pass out street sign, those paper street signs. But no, I'm serious. I mean, it's bad, especially at night. You can't tell what street you're on.
Okay, so is that it for salaries? So 223, 232 also has a operational side, and there were a few increases when it comes to like the insurance, FICA, so that's where those increases come from on this budget here. And basically, you'll notice that the professional services budget here is decreased also. But then again, it's one of the motor vehicle highway budgets, so there's only so much money that it's given there. You ready for the next one, Councilwoman? I'm almost there.
You getting there?
I'm getting there. I'm sorry. The next one is 606, which is motor vehicle highway utilities. And overall, there's a decrease here, but then like we say, that's what we get in. So we don't control the funds in that budget. We can only use what we're given. Okay. Then there is finally 252, and that's further restricted. And that's because there was that rule where part of the motor vehicle highway money had to be, 50% of it had to be put into further restricted, into a further restricted fund, okay? And that can only be used for like paving and road construction. It's very limited to what that can be actually used for.
Madam Chair,
All the budgets.
Yes.
if we could go back to the utilities,
I'm sorry?
the utility budget. I'm trying to see which one the utility budget is. 606. When you talked about the light, power, and heat here, I see it was decreased. You said that's only what we get in.
I couldn't hear you. 606 actually relates to like the lights that have to be, it relates to lights, the street lights.
But I see it was decreased.
Yes, but that's because that's what we, is that it?
Is that it? Councilman Brewer?
Yes. Madam Chair.
Does anybody else have any questions, comments on this one? Okay, on the operating. With the salary.
On 606, there is no salary budget there. It's just an operating.
Okay, operating only.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Good evening, Madam Chair and council members. For those who do not know me, my name is Margaret Lewis. I'm the Director of Human Resources. And I am here this evening to, very short, other than, I guess, the across the board increase of 3% for all employees. I'm just here to make a couple of changes on the salary budget. As far as the benefits lead wellness coordinator, for 2021, it was put down to part-time. I want to bring it back to full-time and change the title from human resources specialist, to benefits leave wellness coordinator, which is what it was in 2020.
So you changed the title.
The
and
title?
Increase the pay.
From part-time to full-time. Originally, it was full-time, and then we took it to part-time, but we saw the need that we need the full-time. We definitely need the full-time position. And so that was for the salary budget. And the only thing else would be for the operating budget is just the increase from taking the position from part-time to full-time.
Any questions, anybody? Anybody have any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just have, can you hear me, Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So the benefits manager on our form, it says title change. What was the change before that? I know that the benefits lead wellness coordinator used to be specialist and moved to full-time. Was there a change on the title for the benefits manager?
On the salary? Mm-hmm. No, just for the 3% across the board.
Okay, so I don't know why this says this. Let me just update it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Madam Chair, I had a question.
Okay.
When you went from full-time to, for part-time to full-time, what is the full-time salary now?
Proposed $37,080.
Thank you.
That's the benefit manager title change, right?
Yeah, I have 34,711, Ms. Lewis.
I was gonna say.
So that's the benefits wellness coordinator.
$37,080.
That it went from 16,850, which was part-time.
Yeah.
And then the full-time that we have showing is 34,711
Right.
for the wellness coordinator. And then you have, this is the position I had just asked about too, the benefits manager as well. And so, that salary was 36,000, but then the proposal is just the increase of 3%, which is the number you just said. Mm-hmm. So that's right?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
One last question for the title change for the benefits wellness coordinator. Before was they receiving any type of benefits like healthcare, anything?
When it was part-time? No benefits at all.
So this does not include fringes then?
Correct.
Okay.
So Ms. Lewis, you have 6 full-time and then 1 part-time.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it?
Is that anybody else? Mike?
Yeah. No problem. This is the whole issue of making sure that we pay people over $30,000 a year. She's taking the right perspective and putting the person in the slot at 34,000, is that? What is it? For what's the slot? She went from part-time, 16,000 to full-time, proposed 34,000, am I right? 34,007, is that right? So what I'm saying, that's what we want to be able to do for all our full-time employees, have a base salary in the 30+ range so we can be competitive with other cities and towns as well as other employment agencies. I applaud you
Exactly.
for at least saying if I'm going to, bring you on full-time, I'm gonna give you a decent salary with the benefits. And so I applaud you for that. That's what I just wanted to make that comment because that's been an issue about people not being paid at least that, and then you're gonna still have some people not being paid the 30,000, saying, well, how you gonna take this person from 16 to 34? Well, that's where we need to be at. So I just wanted to say, I think that's the right direction for all our full-time employees to have them in that salary area. Okay, thank you very much. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for human resources?
Anytime there are employees below, I'm going to use Mr. Godwin's 31,000. I'd like to know, not by name, but certainly by position, because I think at the end of the day, let's pay everyone over 31,000 or at 31,000. Not because other cities are doing it, it's because it's the right thing to do.
Okay.
And we probably should try to squeeze out a little bit more. I'm aware of what we're going to do. I'm going to call it either the care money, the covert money, what we're going to do with our police and firemen and other workers. I think we certainly should do that for people that are working full time. And
Well, I think that's something we did last year, that no one was paid under $31,000, $31,000.
I think it was 30. I think it was 30 last year.
Yeah,
but,
31.
Okay.
but I don't think we achieved it though. We didn't achieve that.
Oh, I thought we did.
No.
We didn't.
30.
Oh, 30. Okay. Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just wanted to see, Ms. Lewis, are you gonna do insurance as well?
I'm sorry.
Are you gonna do insurance?
Yes.
Or Mr. Harper?
Mr. Harper, along with Mr. Harper, speak on
Okay.
insurance.
Okay.
I'll just stay here.
Madam Chair, before we move on, I do have one question about the 3% increase. Normally inside of different departments, we are doing an increase. We kind of see where they're taking the money from. Normally they're getting rid of something or they don't need and they have extra money inside. So where are we getting the extra money to pay for the 3%?
This is across the board from the mayor, am I correct?
Yes.
So we're across the board, everyone's getting 3%.
All employees.
So that means it comes out of our tax fund overall. Tax fund.
And I guess my question was still saying, where are we getting the money from when we see a decrease in population from the last census? And we have a substantial number of increase in property tax collection inside the city.
The tax levy is based on a projection based on your assessed valuation. And once they did that calculation, the projection was that we would increase a little in our actual tax dollars that we'll receive. And those dollars are what are being used for the 3% raise across the board. So it isn't coming from anybody's individual budget. It's just an increase in the budget overall for the city.
Okay, yeah, and my point is I want to make sure that we can sustain, it's one thing to do today, and we talk about furlough.
Well, this is the general fund budget, so this should be okay for now. It's when you started putting in extra dollars, say art, for example, that we may not be able to sustain. So that's where we're gonna have to be careful.
Okay.
Because we won't have that art.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions?
Life insurance, dental insurance, the administrative fees, and the Cigna dental and vision plan as well. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next one is what, Commission for Women? Is that next? Commission for Women, who, I don't know who has that. Who has that? No.
She's not here. Ms. George isn't here. Let's go on to the next one. Health Department.
No.
Health Department. Health Department.
Health Department. Okay. Okay, who's Health Department?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm Veronica from the Gary Health Department, Executive Director. So we made a couple of changes. Okay, the medical tech, we renamed the name and made her medical office assistant, because with her pay, she's at $11.76 per hour. And to make it comparable to the medical assistants in the area, we made it $15 an hour. So we did that one. And then also our health service. Okay, that's better. Health service supervisor. That person is from our professional services, and that was contract. However, with the nurses that that's inquiring about the job, they're looking for benefits. So we made this person a full-time person with benefits, a full-time nurse with benefits. This person was a contract person. And then also 3% across the board, like everyone else. So those are the only changes that we made. Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, question.
Yes.
So all of your employees are paid at least $30,000 a year, 31,000. Do you have anyone under that amount?
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't understand.
This is crazy. All of your employees are paid at least $31,000.
No. No. Well, for the medical, vital record registers, they're 24,000. Health inspectors is 29. And then the medical assistant was 24.
All right, thank you.
What about this public health nurse?
The public health nurse. So this is what we did. We take $20,000 from this budget, and then we take from the CDBG, they put 16,000, so that makes it 36,000. And that's the STD nurse.
Is that the only salary within your budget that has some type of subsidy like that? You can't hear me.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, I can't hear. Yes, that's the only one, yes.
Ms. Collins, these new people that you hired, they're Gary residents?
I'm sorry.
Are they Gary residents, these new positions that you're changing or making? They're
Oh,
Gary.
yes, definitely. Oh, definitely. Well, this person is a contract person, but she is a Gary resident.
Okay.
Yes.
I forgot to ask Ms. Lewis.
Okay.
Ms. Lewis, we're hiring Gary residents, right?
Correct.
Okay, no new people. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Maybe it's not a question for anyone. Can we get a listing of the people that are making under 30,000? 24 does sound somewhat ridiculous if they're working 40 hours a week.
Councilman Lay,
Yes.
just the department and title, right, and the salary? That's the only.
Yeah. In other words, we do have, as I understand the way we're expending the COVID money, we may have money. And if we do that before the budget, we could try to ensure, I felt that way before, that people at least making, I agree with Mr. Godwin, hope, assuming his calculation's correct, at least $15 an hour. And so we need to know that if we were about to go through this department, people at 24,000. So 3% won't get them there. So it may be somehow, maybe we will have to go back and get them there. That's why I thought a listing of some sort, not necessarily by name, but by positions that are people that are full-time. Or I guess they could give us the day too. It wouldn't really matter. We can know that.
Yeah, we can do that. I can,
Yeah, just across the board. So at
So
the
we'll
end,
know.
yeah, at the end, if somebody's being paid 24, we at least know they're being paid 24.
Yeah, no problem.
Full time.
Okay, I'll take that action.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, Madam Chair and council members. I'm here for budget 604. And if I can, I ran out earlier for the sole purpose of getting earbuds. I hear everything. If everyone would put on earbuds and ask those who are coming to present to bring earbuds or earphones to plug into this surface, their own personal, then everything will be clear and heard without the echo over the internal system. That's just a suggestion.
Okay.
Now let me continue. I'm here for budget 604. Our personnel outside of the 3% that everyone is getting, I wish outside of the 3% that everybody's getting, my team is getting the 3%.
Okay. That's it?
That's it.
Any questions from the IT department?
Are there any people in your persons in your department paid under 30,000?
No. No operational?
Madam Chair.
Oh.
Madam Chair, I do have one question. It has been brought to me that the information is being put out to the public as far as your team, IT, and our team back here, but they're being used on two separate platforms. That has really never been done like that before. We use in the Reimagine page for certain things. We use in the Channel 4 page for certain things. How, it's kind of confusing to the residents because we used to just use Channel 4. And I know with COVID and everything that's going on now, why we're not at least mainstreaming everything to one page? Because IT used to work with the Gary Common Council media team here. We used to share a partnership here, and we don't share that now. It's the IT administration, Gary Common Council, their team down here, but it's not working for the betterment of the city.
Let me quickly explain. With the new technology of streaming and the cost of what cable used to cost, a number of citizens in Gary have left cable. And when you leave cable, you leave Channel 4, you leave Channel 21, and you leave Channel 22. So those citizens are no longer receiving the channels and the information that you used to provide on those 4 channels. So we have to take advantage of those who are moving to other streaming sources and still provide them access to the information that happens on Channel 4, Channel 21, and Channel 22. And we've done that with what we call Gary TV. So the people that are on streaming platforms called Roku, that are called Android TV, Apple TV, and YouTube, they now can get Gary TV on those platforms to still receive council information, still receive the educational information, and still receive the other citizen information. All they have to do now is download the Gary TV channel for their services. We're going to put out an info video that explains that to that community. So what we had to do was combine all of that and create an opportunity to create the internal, which I'll call Channel 4, 21, and 22, and the streaming. And we've been successful. We're still in the implementation of doing that, combining all of those sources to go to one location and still stream to AT&T and to Comcast and still stream to the other channel sources that I just explained. That's where the difference is right now. So they also had to be a combination of us operating together, what's happening in the council environment and what we're doing to bring these other sources in. That's the simple explanation for that.
Well, I'm more or less speaking towards like city meetings, like Board of Works meetings, park board meetings, and things of that nature. What platform is these on? Because it's all over the place. I'm getting calls saying, hey, we used to see these things on TV. We don't see them now. But I guess they're being recorded, but they're going other places.
Let me continue to explain. When the pandemic hit, even though IT was still around and still operating, other services dropped. And until Zoom emerged and those committees re-engaged again via Zoom, we specifically had to go to the streaming sources, record and save, and then move them to your Channel 4. Now, committees are slowly coming back together. Some are now requesting that they meet in person. And as we get them meeting in person, our media team will then go and record those committee meetings. And then we'll take those committee meetings and then supply them in Gary TV. We're still looking and getting information on which committees are back in play in terms of operating to where they want their meetings now recorded and or streamed live, if that opportunity is available, to then broadcast them on a service, Channel 4, 21, 22, plus the other ones, and then put them in a channel program so that it can happen on a continual basis. So we're a combination of things. Who's meeting? When can we meet? When can we now set our schedule for our team to come out and record? And then we'll put the meetings, after they're recorded, into a play program for Gary TV.
All right. We still got a lot of work to work through this, because that's not taking me where I was hoping we went tonight, but we'll talk offline.
That's fine.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right.
Our operational budget basically stayed the same as what was in 2020. There are a couple of
That, particularly YouTube, a lot of our meetings are streamed live, and a lot of them are recorded as well. And I think that's a good avenue for people to be able to go back and see the meetings, or see them live. And I'm glad that there are those avenues for us. I do understand how people are getting away from cable, and that's basically because AT&T wants you to go to this, and everyone else wants you to do these things. And some people are just streaming, period. And I think for us, we just have to get with the program and get our citizens to understand those changes that are occurring. It's sort of like going from antenna TV to cable. So now you're going from cable to streaming. And so we just need to be able to do a better job of educating them about those options that they have and try to put as much of that information in as many formats as possible.
Yeah, one
for the
thing,
public.
and I appreciate
Yeah.
that. One of the things we do want to create in that avenue is an archive capability. Not saying now how long we want to keep certain media available and up and running, because we have to pay for the storage for the company that we're using for professional services. But we like to create it in such a way, in a programmatic fashion, where you can actually go back and say, hey, look, I want to look for the council meeting back in June of 2021, and then see a listing of what you may be able to go get. We don't know how much we'll be able to save and store again, but on the streaming side, we would like to be in position to archive that. We know we have our issues with trying to keep it on the storage for straight channel 24, 21, and 22 with AT&T and also with Comcast. But by being able to archive in these other medias, we may have a little bit more leeway with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is with the Gary Police Commission. CCI, CCD, I don't know what they are. What are they?
I will, yeah, I'm gonna do that one. Yes.
I don't see them.
You want me to step up there? Oh, okay. All right. All right. So I have Fund 401 CCI, which is the cumulative capital improvement. Basically, what this is a tax levy that's used to purchase land and purchase police equipment, computer equipment, construction or maintenance of sewers, and purchase of public safety vehicles. Basically here we have an increase in our contractual maintenance to 86K and an increase to repairs to building to 178K. The only other changes I have here is other building improvements, which increased to 126K. And we have about a 210K difference in this particular fund. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. How much did you say?
You're muted.
How much for repairs?
$179,000.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
Now, repairs to building, 178K. Yes.
Now, does that include like air conditioning and all that? I mean, they got a lot of problems over at those buildings.
It could potentially take care of items such as air conditioning, yes. However, during my history, it depends on the issue with the air conditioning, whether or not this is enough funding to cover that.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
You named quite a bit in here. You said purchase of land, repairs to building, buying police cars. So all of this money is put in through the general fund. There's no other money comes into this pot here?
That's correct. It's a tax levy, so it's a part of funds that come in through the tax levies.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you. So what particular projects are there any that you anticipate that will be covered with this $100,000 increase?
Not at the moment. I do not have a project listing for the line items at the moment. No.
Okay. So what was the general thought was that we needed to just enhance?
Yes, enhance the line items, anticipating future repairs and things that needs to be done.
I'd like to know a little bit more about what we have in mind, whether it's particular buildings, particular areas of buildings. Not saying we're going to write that into the law here, but I think we want to have some sense of what types of projects we're thinking generally.
Okay, I will note that in my notes here, and we'll get back to you before the next meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because they got a lot of problems over at that those buildings. And so we need to know what they're doing. Any other questions or comments about CCI and CCD? Mike.
Madam Chair,
I mean, Councilman Brown.
That's okay, no problem. I've been called worse, we good. The question about the vehicle expenditures, what particular vehicles are we talking about? And, excuse me, and what amount are we looking at? Because that's important to find out what kind of vehicles that we're going to be purchasing, whether it's police, fire, whether it's general services or other support vehicles throughout the city. And how will they be marked as well? Yes. Markings.
On this ordinance, it's for repairs to the building. It could be used for public safety vehicles as well. Yes.
Okay.
Ask the question because if you're gonna use that money, would you come before the council to make those kind of purchases so we'd have a better idea of how that money is being spent? Because one of the things that that's important from a fiscal standpoint is that when you receive the allotment from the council, it's important that we have a clear understanding as to where those kind of purchases are going without, after the fact. So
Right.
that's important. Yes.
Yes, I agree. If we were to use some of the funding, we will in fact let the council know before it's actually transferred to a specific line item. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Chair?
Anybody else?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Can you tell us, either Attorney Colvin or you, Mr. Harper, how this fund was used or how it's being used in this current fiscal year? Like, what are some of the expenditures that have come out of this fund? I know it was only 78,000 and 60,000. Okay, thank you.
You okay? Is that enough? Okay. All right. Okay, then the next one is Police Commission.
No, so I have, I'll
the
do them.
next-
So I have next, which is 402, which is cumulative capital development. This,
CCD. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
This comes from taxes and can be used for any government purpose. In our budget here, we have 100,000, which is the same from the previous year for contractual maintenance agreement. We lowered the repairs to building to 36.5. And that is it. We decreased this budget by 70K. I'm sorry, to 64K to be exact.
Any questions, anyone, any comments? Got a lot of problems on buildings, that's why I'm asking. Okay.
All right, and the final one is 462. This exceeded fund. The department is 4620. County economic development taxes. This is from income taxes. And the changes here, basically there weren't many changes, but there were some. The other materials pretty much stayed the same with 260K. We did add debt services principal, which is 3,315K. I'm sorry, 3,315,000. And we lowered grants and subsidies by 3 million. That total is now 2 million. And these are the only line items in this particular fund. Any questions?
I do grants and subsidies. Oh, what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so grants and subsidies is basically what we receive in from our income taxes. It's just a line item that is used to as a placeholder. I guess it's almost like a request that is stationary. I guess it's more or less our way of recording the fund into the line item.
Generally, we move money from grants and subsidies in the seeded fund. We use it to supplement the general fund. If you recall, we bring ordinances at least once or twice a year saying that we're doing a subsidy to the general fund, and one of the sources of that subsidy is seeded. So it goes to make up a portion of the revenues that actually support the general fund budget.
Okay.
And then I think he mentioned also that the sale leaseback payment also comes from this fund.
Thank you.
So,
All
Madam
right.
Chair,
Yes.
so was that the same amount that we received last year?
About the same.
About
similar.
Okay, because I didn't see it in a 2021 proposal here, what it was last year. That's why I asked.
Okay, well, that means we did receive city, well, actually, I moved not so long ago, I did an ordinance to move, I think it was 1.2 million from city, so there should be some number in that column, which we need to correct, Mr. Harper.
Okay. Thank you.
How are we doing, Madam Chair? One last question. How are we doing with the payments for the sale leaseback? How's
We're
that
fine.
working?
We're fine. Like I said, the seeded dollars come in, and you know we get both county economic development tax, which is this, as well as the police and fire income tax as well. So that has been coming in regularly. So we are able to actually use the dollars, as I said. We transfer some dollars to the general fund, even they
Next one is police commission, right?
Monthly. So we've been doing fine.
So do we pay anything over the amount that's asked for the sale leaseback?
No, we have not been.
And I know during the whole sale leaseback, there was some provision where we supposed to be reducing our costs in some kind of way.
There was a plan
for the reduction of debt, I think that's what it was called, that would impact, or at the end of the sale leaseback period, the city of Gary should have been able to actually sustain itself on its existing tax dollars without having to go back out for an additional sale leaseback type arrangement and be able to pay its debts. So that has been in place. The debts we have been paying down our bills. So we haven't had the problems that we did. I guess it was in 2019, 2018 where we needed to do that.
Because I know that was the reason why a lot of those positions that we talked about in some of those other budgets was eliminated, and now they're coming back because there's a need and everything. So that was the reason why that took place.
Right.
Okay. Well, as long as we're good financially.
We're good. We're good.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I think our next one is the Gary Police Commission. And we don't have anybody here for the Gary Police Commission. Except, well, we just have the administrator. Is there anything other than the administrator in that? That's it? That's in that?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I will, we'll have to, if you don't mind, if we can table this one to tomorrow, possibly. I believe Ms. George is out today.
Who?
Police commission.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. We can come back to that one. All right. I think that's it. I think.
D. Brown. I'm sorry, correction. Ms. George is Commission for Women's. If we can table that one, I will find out if Miss Angela can also be on for tomorrow.
Okay. You can't read this. Okay, Miss. She's
Chief.
Commission for Women.
No.
Okay.
Our police chief.
Police commission, right?
I can't read it.
Oh. Our police chief, Chief Evans.
Hi.
Hello, this is Katrina Walker, our fiscal manager.
Good
Hi.
evening. Good evening.
Yes, ma'am. So in the police department's budget, I know that there's been some discussion about some salary changes in our, let's go to 258. We got 258 of it. So I want to start with our civilian salaries on our 258 budget. We eliminated two positions, one of them being the administrative assistant's position that was in internal affairs division, and our front desk security position to allow us to give raises to our civilian staff to bring them up in commensurate with a livable wage. By doing that and working with the comptroller, we were able to bring all of our employees up to $30,000, and some of them even more. Some of our civilian employees haven't had raises in excess of 7 or 8, some 10 years, and this will allow them to have a raise for the first time. Those two positions, while we hate to lose them, we can live without them. We have been living without them because one of the individual positions, the person in the position retired, and we were never able to fill it. You know, we tried, and I think that's because of the salary. And the other position, we just have been unable to fill. So that's what we did with those salaries on 258. Can go over each line item. I don't know how you want to do this. Okay. All right. I'll move on to our, I'll speak briefly on 259, which is our new animal control budget. In this line item, there's money there for repairs, much needed repairs to the animal control facility. as this council saw in an earlier meeting, how sorely the facility needs repairing. And in this also, we were able to increase the budget of our animal control officers to $30,000 as well, 31 actually.
You don't have to confirm. We can be auction fund, whichever one she said.
Let's do auction fund.
Okay, 254.
254, you got it.
I'm not confused, but I know it.
Mhm.
Okay, do you have, budget 254 in front of you, which is the auction fund?
No, we
You
don't.
don't have that. What all budgets do you have? Just the 101, 250, and 258?
Maybe 101, right?
Okay, so those were the only ones that we were discussing. So what's the 101, 250? Okay. Okay, unless you had any other questions pertaining to any of the raises for individuals or the animal control.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So Madam Chair, can I ask my question? It's not a question, it's a comment. So Mr. Harper, the operating salary file that we have, it doesn't have that administrative assistant position and that front door security position removed or eliminated. It's still showing in the budget. So we need to update that and update. Make sure that-
Yes, and I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Chief Evans and I had a conversation at around 4 o'clock today, and we have updates from what you have received originally. So I will send those updates out to you.
Okay, no problem.
I have one additional comment on our 101, 250 fund with our area commanders and our deputy chief. They received salary increases. Earlier this year, this council gave us the first class patrolman position, which was sorely needed and muchly appreciated. But what that did was that we have a patrol officer that actually made more than our commanders by a significant amount. That being the case, we raised our area commanders and our deputy chief salary to be commensurate with what it was in percentage before that, so that they would be above that salary.
So your area commanders are more, wait a minute, say that again, please.
Yes, our area commanders have received a raise of $10,000, taking them to $74,000, which raises them $3,000 above the patrolman salary for our first class patrolman. Yes, ma'am.
So Chief, so how did you all identify what that compensation rate should be?
Sorry.
How did you identify what that rate should be between the 71, whatever, to the 80?
I did so before the commanders were making 64,000. Right now the officer with longevity makes 71. I put them $3,000 above that, which is 74,000. Yes, ma'am. And the deputy chief makes traditionally made $8,000 to $10,000 more than the area commander, so he had that bump as well.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where are we as far as being competitive with the other police agencies in the area? Because that's a huge concern in order for us to be more competitive. One, to maintain officers that we have, and two, to compensate the officers for the amount of work that they're doing with a city our size. Could you answer that for me, Chief?
So right now, with the 3% increase given to us by the city, that puts our officers at $50,783. Most area departments make between 57 and 62 as an average right now around us, and that will be our surrounding areas. So we are still behind them as far as our salary and wages, and it also is for behind them in the amount that officers pay for their benefits. In some of these cities, they pay a third for all of employees, not just police, but all their employees pay a third less in insurance costs.
Money included in that
for uniform? No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Our uniform
Okay.
remains the same.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I wanted to ask a couple questions about the animal control budget. I'm certain that the mayor has gotten as many emails as I have gotten related to a desire among many folks, not only in the first district, but across the city, who are part of the animal welfare committee of the city and others who are interested in making sure we increase the amount for that. I think it's probably why we separated this to a separate fund, 259, which has been emailed by Mr. Harper, councilperson. But I guess if we're being asked to increase it, we need a baseline. So on that 259, if we could, I don't know how you might do this, extrapolate and be able to state what we were spending, what we're currently spending in 2021 on the same, so that if we're making the case that we're increasing it, we have to show baselines. So I would recommend that change to 259. And I see Attorney Hake is on, so definitely thank her for helping to advocate for this issue. But I want to be able to show that we actually have increased it, if that's in fact what has happened. Secondly, as it relates to the police salaries, I know that the Public Safety Committee, of which Councilman Brewer is the chair, Councilwoman Atkins and myself are members. Well, I'm definitely interested in continuing to take a deep dive on making sure that our salaries are competitive so that we can not only recruit but retain existing talent, which is a tremendous problem. And I am of the belief that public safety is the most important thing. I mean, a lot of the things we're approving tonight are very important, they're vital, but if we don't have public safety, we don't really have a city that's under control. So we're definitely going to continue to be looking at this very closely. And that's all I'll say for now. Thank you.
Okay. Did you have something else? You have any more? You got any more? Okay.
Police pension.
Policeman. The only thing we had was.
And what about our public safety taxes, income taxes? What those schools?
For 60.
You do that too, Tony? They can do it. Okay. Do that one.
Yeah, I have it. But I can quickly find it. Our 463 public safety income tax is a fund that we get for the 1% in everyone's taxes for the city, and public safety gets a portion of that. What we utilize that money for are some salaries for the ordinance, or I don't know if it's the law, and we use the remainder of it for equipment, which is what we use to purchase and pay for our vehicles. The 18 vehicles that we purchased before are being paying out of that, and we're going to keep paying for our future incoming vehicles out of that. We do a lease buyback, lease purchase with those vehicles, so we have an initial payment that's consistent that we pay once a year, and twice a year. I'm sorry, thank you. 2 payments twice a year, and then at the end of that portion, those vehicles belong to us. We have approximately 35 vehicles on order right now that we're waiting to be manufactured. The delay in that has been the chip shortage, which everybody knows about, which is delayed manufacturing nationwide. But our vehicles are still on order. We checked with the CQPA person just this week, and our vehicles are still on order. When we get our VIN numbers, we will know they will be manufactured. Ford has shut down several times this year, so the vehicles haven't been made, but our vehicles are still on order. Thankfully, some municipalities have had their orders canceled. As far as salaries, we have salaries in that budget that we pay out of that takes the salaries off of the general fund side, because that money can be used to pay those salaries. They're paid at the same rate as everyone else. And what we generally do, we move people around. If we have a new hire, we'll put them on 463. And once those slots in 463 fill up, we take someone off and put on the general services side. So we always have someone on there.
With inside the department, I know it's a help, but it doesn't take care of all your problem product vehicles. What else would you need? What would that number look like for the remainder of vehicles that you would need?
So along with the 35 vehicles, we currently still have 4 Crown Victorias 2010 in our fleet. This purchase will go a long way of taking, we only have 6 of those vehicles still left in our dedicated fleet for patrol. The remaining of those vehicles are in the investigative division. This 35 that's coming will take all of those vehicles out of patrol, which are the ones that are running hot, running heavy, going from call to call, and take those vehicles out of that fleet. And then we'll begin to use the others in other parts of the department. We had 2015 and 2017 orders. It's time to replace some of those. Those are the Ford Explorers, but they are getting at 4 or 5 years old as well. So we begin replacing those. Our ideal number is to have, in 2010, we did 110. That's what we purchased at one time. That, of course, was with a grant for the what do they call it? The clean fuel. Clean fuel. And we were buy 110 cars. We were the largest purchase in the area at the consternation of other agencies because of our size of our city. And that went a long way for us putting the oldest vehicles out of our fleet. And then the vehicles that were not as old that we replaced, we were able to pass those down to other city departments, such as code enforcement, the building department. Currently, the way our vehicles are in their state, it would be unsafe to do that, to pass them down because they're just unsafe vehicles. So ideally, we would need, like I said, about 50 more vehicles to make our fleet basically state of the art. And what we would like to do, as we talked about in public safety meetings, is do this in a tiered way. We make vehicle purchases this year. We don't just not make vehicle purchases for several more years. We purchase vehicles every few years so we can switch out the vehicles that are getting older, and the ones that are still in working shape, we can hand those down to other city departments and save money for the other city departments on vehicle purchasing, and they have vehicles that are viable. Other cities do this all over. If you go to our city in the south, you'll see Ford Explorers in their building department and other departments that were once police vehicles.
Are you on now?
The only thing you have now is the pension. And that's all.
Pension.
And that's it.
Thank you.
No other questions?
No questions? Okay, thank you.
Guess this is our final one at $5,638,862. This is a decrease in the current budgeted amount because we always have had an excess in this particular fund. So what we've done is just budgeted for what we will actually need, even though we had an increase in the pension amount this year because we increased it, the council increased the public safety pension. But that's essentially what this is. We pay the pensions out of current charges. So this represents pension payments. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right. I'm sorry, Miss Holly. I could have just let you roll and just text you tomorrow.
Just the professional services.
Yeah, you know, I was just thinking that I'm gonna have to get back to you on that because I can't tell you off the top of my head what we pay out of that.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm done.
Wow.
We done.
Hmm?
We done.
Yeah. I thought you had all these closer tomorrow. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to make a few key comments. First, I want to thank both you, Councilwoman Brown and Councilwoman Atkins, for organizing this schedule. And I'm amazed that we have stayed to it. And I'm sure we'll have some follow-up questions, obviously, for various departments that have been brought out tonight. But thank both of you for working so diligently on this. I did ask our controller, if possible in his spare time, to create a table of contents and some page numbers. It's not a fancy budget book, but if we could at least get page numbers, I think that will help when we're turning so quickly to be able to kind of identify what we're talking about at any given time. So definitely want to thank him for that. Please make sure you check the email he sent related to 259, the animal control edition. So just wanted to make those comments and look forward to digging deeper tomorrow. Thank you.
We didn't do anything with the police commission, did we? We'll do. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. If there are no more questions or comments, then the meeting is adjourned and for tonight. Oh, are there any public comments? I'm sorry. I should have asked for public comment.
Please raise your hand. I know we have 10 attendees. And if there's any questions or comments, please raise your hand and the media team can clear you to speak. All right, don't see any raised hands. Back over to you, Councilman.
It was just a point, right? So there would have to be a thorough analysis, a cost analysis done. And then anyway, you know, there's things such as a cloud that is not that expensive to do that I'm sure Mr. Lloyd will look into. And so again, this particular meeting is not to dig in terms of the strategy and how they would do that, but I think he was just bringing it up in terms of something that they were looking to do for the future state. And so once he is able to bring us some type of proposal, we can review that at that time. Councilman Lay?
Yes, we did something similar to this several years for the Calumet Township Board. It's really not that expensive. I mean, all it is I don't know the technology that you guys know, but you can go back and reproduce it. So I think we're jumping the gun when we say it's going to be that expensive. I don't think it'd be near about as expensive as a clerk sitting there recording this, you know, and making minutes. I think that costs more than what Mr. Keith is talking about. At least we found out it was cheap. We didn't hire a person to do it. I guess that's the end of my comments on it.
Okay, so that is, so that is looking forward, looking good to think forward. And also, I see that raising my hand worked, so that's good.
Okay, Ms. Harris, is that the extent of your comment?
Yes. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yes. Is there any other member from the public who wants to make a comment? No? All right. Well, I'm going to close out the meeting for Councilwoman Brown. She has wrapped up. So we thank you all for tuning in. Tomorrow will be our second set, a review for department. Again, we start at 5 p.m. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.